Okay. Well, I want to thank Jerry and everyone for inviting me here today. I'm truly grateful for that. Um, and so hopefully you can all see my screen. I haven't heard anything in the otherwise, so we'll go ahead and get started. So as Jerry said, I've been with caregiver support here at Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services for about 15 years. And one of the things I love most is how we share across the state of Utah. It doesn't matter if each of us is assigned in our own counties, but we have this great ability to share the resources and the things that we learn and the things that we do together so that we can have them available to the whole state of Utah. So I'm really grateful to be invited here today. So I want to talk to you about why this book exists, and it should be pretty fun. So I want to talk to you first about being a caregiver. So I have been a caregiver for 2 or 3 generations worth of individuals in my family. I'm one of those natural born caregivers. Sometimes I wish I wasn't like the rest of you, but I am. And one time in my life, I found myself laid off from a position and changing careers and going to school and a few other things. And one day my mother called and told me on a Friday that she was going to have emergency open heart surgery on Monday. And as we started this caregiver journey with my mother, which was the next generation because my grandparents had then passed away from Alzheimer's and cancer and other things that they had gone through, we bring my mom home from the hospital and put her in her bedroom, and she's doing pretty well the first night. I'm a caregiver. I'm checking on her throughout the night. And just to kind of let you know where I'm positioned as the caregiver, I am in the next room, which is like a little, it's kind of a mix between an office and a little front room that's kind of next to this bedroom. And I have a blow-up mattress on the floor with a little blanket. And this is an old farmhouse up in Box Elder County. So during the nights, the first couple nights were kind of rough. We were getting up and down a lot. With my mom's open heart surgery, she didn't have the muscle and the capacity without ripping her stitches open to get up on her own. So I would have to help her up and help her into the restroom, things like that. And to kind of give you an idea how it was like to sleep on this mattress, there wasn't one, there wasn't two, but there were 3 little spiders that came to join me during the night, that first night when I'm sleeping on the floor. I'd get up to go to stumble and I'd whip the covers back and I look down and there's these 3 big wolf spiders kind of tucked in next to me saying, hey, as long as you're here to be a caregiver, I want to hang out with you too. So for the next few nights, you have me, the caregiver, shaking out my blankets, vacuuming around the room as quietly as I can and as best I can every day, because, you know, this is turning out to be a very unique kind of caregiver experience. So on night 2, I wish my mother good night. She's kind of frustrated. She's coming off her anesthesia and everything completely at this point. She's feeling a little down, a little frustrated. And she told me to go to bed, and she wasn't very nice about it. She just says, go in the other room, go to bed. You're done. You're fine. I'll call you if I need you. Just go to bed. So I go in the other room and I lay down, and for like 30 to 45 minutes, I hear my mom just frustrated completely. And I hear her fussing around in the bed, and I'm like, Cal, what is causing all of that? And I thought, well, she said not to go in there. And I didn't dare go in there until she told me she needed me and to come back. Well, the next morning I go in and I sit down on the bed beside her, and she explains this to me. She explains that from where she's laying on the bed, looking up toward where I am to go out the door, there is a bedpost kind of between me and her. And when I went in and went to bed, she thought I was a bedpost. And so she thought that I hadn't gone to bed, and I was standing there in the dark staring at her. And so for 45 minutes, instead of telling me to go to bed again or whatever, so that we could figure it out, she just got fuming mad laying there on her bed. So anyway, the next morning as I'm sitting on the bed and she's telling me the story, we are laughing our head off. So I stand up and turn around and do this fashion statement and say, Mom, I'm really surprised, but I look svelty and lovely. I must be a bedpost. You know, we turned it into this funny little moment. And so the funny moment was, her explaining to me what she had gone through, what I was hearing, and all of the chaos that comes with caregiving. And it made me realize how powerful moments could be. So it taught me something that night, and which is why I thought the bedpost moment mattered very importantly. First, a bedpost is solid and helps create a trustworthy foundation. It's really cool to be called a bedpost if you're a caregiver. And then the other part was, it takes more than one bedpost to make caregiving work. You'll notice there are 4 bedposts at least on every bed to create balance. So none of us should be going through the moments alone or going through these problems alone. So that's what this booklet that I created is all about. And I want to share with you why it's there, what we're doing, and why you have this booklet, basically. First, I believe that each moment has a place and a value. The bad moments, the good moments, the struggles, it doesn't matter. In caregiving, we talk more about moments than we talk about days or hours or weeks. Sometimes it's, how do I get through the moment? So the moment we experience a diagnosis or a medical result, we change, as does our task load and our perspective on life. Everything hangs on this hinge of moments. And then the moment we decide to face that change or that challenge with courage, we begin to learn and gain wisdom about our experience. And then the moment we decide to find life's hidden moments of joy, we fill our human battery pack with self-sustaining power. And that's the most important moment there is, because the tough moments teach us patience, they teach us courage, they teach us many things. But the moments of joy, they build energy. And that's why I thought it was so important to have this kind of a booklet available to the caregivers to share and to experience. So I wanted to spend the next little bit of time talking about the inspiration behind the Creating Joy booklet, because it's basically a moment maker. It can give you something to replace something else that's going on that may be more challenging when you need to change the dynamics of your care situation or change the temperature in the room, you might say, from being overheated to being something that's cooled down and more manageable. So it's really this moment maker. So where the booklet started, and I'm just going to look at my phone to make sure I'm staying on task here, but where this moment started was in a senior expo caregiver conference that we gave clear back in like 2008 or 2009. We collected 15 Joy Kit ideas from professional caregivers and some of the caregivers that we worked with, things that they put together. That one of the speakers mentioned one earlier, which was a basket full of clothes that someone with dementia could fold. So we collected these 15 Joy Kit ideas, we had them printed off, and then we created a kit for each idea and then handed them out as prizes during our conference. Well, a couple years later, as I was going through my file drawers, I found those 15 Joy Kits again. And I thought, you know, it's really unfortunate that we could only give out 15 of those to a group of 100 people or more each conference. Maybe we could do something with this so all caregivers could participate. And so I took those 15 Joy Kits and I turned them into what you see here on the left, the first Joy Kit booklet that we created back then. And some of you I know in Mountain Land Association of Governments have actually used this throughout the years and gotten that from your office there. But the Joy Kits were turned into this booklet, and it was put on our website so that caregivers could have 24/7 access to this presentation. And then they could get on there and do activities. Plus, we printed off about 1,000 of them and gave them out here in our county. So we had that first option that was going on. And then in 2020, during COVID and all the chaos, my program manager said to me, well, give you some background. First, in the government agencies, we don't always have money for marketing, purchasing photos, and doing all those things. We like to keep most of our funds for direct services to the people that we serve. So we have very small budgets for some of these other things. Well, finally, we were able to get some budget together in order to buy a ability to buy photos and other things. So my program manager asked me to add photos to the booklet. Well, in a trainer's mind, photos means a whole lot more. So what it turned into was In my mind, it became add photos, change the layout, and double the number of activities, and just make it a lot more fun. So that's why you have the new booklet that now looks like this, the Creating Joy Booklet. And by the way, it was just completed like a month and a half ago in time for this conference, because Mag was so nice about asking if they could please use it for their conference. So you have it now at this time period because we partnered with Mag to be able to do this for you. So I want to talk to you about why you have the certain pages and the activities, because caregiving is a way of life for my parents and I, and for my siblings. I come from a military family, and I have two parents who were often on the road with lots of small children. So, and we had childhood diseases that were pretty tough. I had one sister who in kindergarten got encephalitis, which is a type of disease that makes the child who gets it, or the adult, doesn't matter, has to learn to re-walk, talk, all of those things as you go along. So my parents had to teach my sister how to walk and talk and everything all over again. My brother got Bright's disease, which is a kidney disease, and so they had to help him through that. And then they were also highly involved in the Girl and Boy Scout programs and other youth programs as they traveled the world with the military. They would get involved with all of those programs on the different bases and military posts that they lived on. Because of the type of work my father did, he lived on both Army and Air Force posts. So according to my parents and everything they did, and these are my lovely parents at the time in 1970s, when we were traveling around a lot, but it's because of them you have games in your book like the spy game. We would be traveling in airports and my dad would say, okay, next guy that walks by, he's your spy. Where does he come from? Look at his shoes, look at his clothes. What's his responsibility? How does he overcome it? And, we would just tell the funniest stories because we'd be hours in these airports and other travel locations. And then you also have world history events because they taught us to love world history. And so I created a lot of these activities out of the Ethernet from things that I did with my parents, simplified them, made them workable for the book. And then many of the food activities you also owe to my parents because they taught us to eat all the different foods from the various countries and to have fun. So that's where those chapters come from. And then my jet-setting grandmother, and she had been a jet setter all her life. She had learned to fly airplanes in the early stages when women didn't really fly airplanes. But she had a stroke and lived 11 years in a skilled nursing facility at the end of her life. And that was truly difficult as a caregiver. There were moments when there was absolutely no joy. And I had to create out of my socks and pull it up through my toes, as I call it, ways to entertain this jet-setting grandmother who was now stuck in four walls with a paralyzed body on the left side. And so as I was working with her, the skilled nursing facility or SNF staff, these individuals taught me little tips, which we turned into activities, and they would really support me. And one of them that I love most for my grandmother is called The Great Escape. And it's not even in your book. I thought about it after I made the book, but I would go in and they would have her in her wheelchair for the day. And I would say, hey, let's get out of this joint. Let's blow this joint. And I would get their permission in advance, of course, and I would pack her down the hall and we'd sneak out just for the fun of it because she loved escaping. And so we'd sneak out of the nursing home, the back door, whatever. We'd go around through the parking lot. We'd walk 4 blocks down to 7-Eleven, which was on a main street up in Brigham City. And we would sit and we would eat an ice cream from 7-Eleven, and she got to see the world go by. And so that was called The Great Escape. And we would do that every once in a while, not every time because we wanted to keep it special. And so her and I would do these little funny great escapes and stuff. But I also had to invent little things to keep her happy. So the technology lovers sections, the dreamers and historian sections, a lot of that were the things that we created to keep her happy and keep the world coming to her. We also added other things like a calendar on the wall that everybody who visited could leave a cheeky comment because she has a very cheeky personality. So that made it really fun for her. And then we also did the technology lovers piece was really important to her as a jet setter because she couldn't go out and see normal life happen. So I would take my laptop and I would take pictures of our farm cats playing in the background, or anything going on with life, or people shopping at the grocery store, or what things looked like in a grocery store nowadays. And then I would take my laptop back to her and I would show her the pictures of what had happened that week when I was wandering around. And she would laugh and have a lot of joy over just having this life experience together with me from my laptop where she couldn't go out and see it. So that's why you'll see a lot of the technology lovers and dreamers and all of that there. And just, I have to point out this picture because it makes me laugh so hard. This is her and my step grandfather, her second husband, whom I absolutely adored. His name is Don. And we called her Leadfoot Lillian because she was 5'1". She's sitting on a box here. Look, it looks like she's floating above her chair. He's 6'3". And so her name was Leadfoot Lillian because if anybody was going to get tickets or get in trouble, it was her. And so I just wanted you to know I incorporated her personality into a lot of what you see. Now, other things that happen with the Creating Joy booklet are very important as well. So one of my caregivers, when I went to do this booklet, I felt like it was very important that once I got a draft made, that I shared it with some of my really active caregivers who had very difficult situations, who had a hard time and struggled with keeping joy in the house. And so I had them review the book, and I had your management down at Mountain Land Association of Governments. I had both of those groups review the booklet for me, and we made some significant changes based on that sharing. So one of the caregivers that attends my classes, she has an extremely diverse family. And so she made suggestions which added 8 activities to the booklet, or 4 pages, because she thought a few more items could be put in there that would reach a more diverse population. And they were beautiful ideas. And so I just took her ideas and created activities out of them using the types of materials she thought would be best with these diverse groups. And then MAG caregiver team really helped me hone the end of this book. And I want to just give them a shout out, because at the end of this book, there is a brand new chapter that I was asked to write, because they said, what do you do on days when joy is hard to find? So honestly, the whole last chapter of this book is regarding activities and what happens in a caregiver's life that is difficult and makes joy hard to find, and how to hopefully overcome some of that. So I just want to give them a thank you for making this book even more valuable by adding that other piece in that last chapter to the book. Now, the important part to know about this whole book as you look at it every time and as you hold it in your hands is this is a booklet made by caregivers for caregivers. It's quick and easy, and it's theme-based inspiration. But without years of experience, both my own and other caregivers, you wouldn't have this book. It comes from all of us as caregivers together, and I like to celebrate that when I tell people about the booklet and where they can find it. And then you have this booklet because I truly believe, as a person, in moments of joy, in moments of hope, in moments of compassion, and I believe that they can be created. That we, with a lot of courage and insight and using our own creativity, can make caring for others more enjoyable by managing our moments. And so I just want to share a few things from the end of the book as a way to kind of wrap up the presentation for the last 5 to 6 minutes. And that is, think about the meaning of the verb to enjoy. To enjoy something, a person must choose to participate in and open the human heart to joy. Sometimes a person feels unworthy of joy or is simply too fatigued or tired to experience it. Today might be a take a nap day or a go to the hospital day. Let each day have its place. And remember, if self-care is practiced more regularly and care challenges are shared, joy will have a better chance at finding its way home. Now, I'm going to get really personal for a minute. The last few weeks and months of my life have not had as many joyful moments in them as I would like. In the last month, I have lost 3 people from my life, 2 to complications after COVID, and 1 through other reasons. But as I have gone through these struggles, I have tried to remember, and I have been very grateful that I was getting ready for this presentation because it reminded me to practice what I was talking about today. Now, other things, I have an uncle just this last week who was hit by a car. A lady ran a red light, and he has Parkinson's. And the combinations of those two things now has him in the ER. Even last night at 10:30, he was waiting for a bed because there wasn't one available because so many people are in the hospitals right now. And as I sat there and I got this text from my cousin telling me how my uncle was doing, he has one son, and that son is sitting next to him in the ER. And I thought, Carl, what can I do to check on my cousin because he's keeping everybody up to date on my uncle? So I thought about this booklet and I thought about what I was doing, and I thought, I'm going to call him really quick in the ER. And so I did. And I decided to manage my moment. And I said, so what does your ER room look like? And we started to play this game, and he began to describe it to me like I was going on a fashion walking show. He described the clothes, the yellow curtains, and he was actually laughing with me for a little bit, regardless of what he was going through. And then I could know that he was relaxed enough to answer a question about how he was doing. Everybody was asking about my uncle. I'm sure very few people were asking about him. That's just what happens in caregiving. So I managed that moment to bring a few moments of funny joy into it. He then took pictures of the ER and everything, just from his seating, from his vantage point, and my uncle in his bed, which I would never have been able to share with him had I not shared that moment of joy. And he sent it to me so I would have that cherished moment with him on my cell phone. And that's what these moment makers are all about. So I want to kind of just go through just a couple last thoughts from the book that you'll find in the final chapter. It says, we overthink happiness. Keep it simple. There is something good in every moment. Find it and keep your focus there. This comes from a bloggist whose name is Kristen Butler, and she's got a lot of really great things on her quotes and the power of positivity. But I love this quote because we often do overthink caregiving. We think everything is going to be worse than it is. We get trapped in our emotions. And sometimes what happens is our moments manage us, and we don't get to manage our moments. So I have a challenge for each of you that are on with us today. How can I manage my moments instead of letting life's moments manage me? It's a challenge I would like each one of you just to think about as we go through life as a caregiver. There are going to be some pretty tough things, but if we implement moments of joy, even when we don't feel like it, or moments of hugs, or ER moments, or moments where it's okay to sit and cry in the shower, and we let that moment, we take control of it and go ahead and cry because we know it's the thing we need in that moment. And then we take in other moments when we're ready for them. But I just want you to know that you have this book because of caregiving, and it's really embedded in generations of care and everything that families have been doing. And so if you have questions and you want to reach out for any reason, this is me in my mask. In case you see me in public, you'll be able to tell who I am. And Caregiver Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services is a partner, AAA. We call them AAAs, but we're not insurance. The only thing we're the insurance for is to make sure you find your resources. So if you want to be insured in resources, just give us a call and we'll figure things out with you. So if you're on here from other counties, please remember that even if you're attending with Mountain Land Association of Governments today, the rest of the state has a county seat that is responsible for your area, and Jerry and them can help you find those. But this is where I am if you need anything, or if you want to ask about the booklet more, whatever you want to do. So I just want to thank you for letting me present today. It's been really great. I don't know if there was comments or questions that you might want, but thank you, Jerry, for letting me share this booklet and share it with Utah. So thank you.